Ambassador Dayal, how do you see these developments coming in? Because it seems that the negotiators have succeeded in getting that tariff from 25% down to 18%. But do you think the MEA, in its reaction to Trump's Truth Social post, will have to navigate through these other commitments that Trump has claimed he has got from India? It seems that we will be in that position to kind of navigate that entire language, because it was the same thing when Trump claimed that he broached the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. The MEA had to be very careful with its language. But how do you see the MEA's reaction to this, which is pretty much awaited after this Truth Social post?
Well, let me say that you are spot on in regard to your comments, because we have to wait and see what the MEA says in this regard. As you pointed out, sometimes there is a great deal of variance between what Trump claims and what MEA says. So therefore, let me see what the MEA is going to say. However, if these trade tensions ease, it is going to be very good for everybody. It's going to be very good for the United States. It's going to be very good for us too. So if this is true what Trump is saying, that he's going to reduce the tariffs from 25% to 18%, and that there is some agreement, and that the trade deal will be coming through, then these are very good developments. I welcome them. However, let me state that Trump has done everything possible to pressurize India. He has done everything possible to personally, while on the one hand praise Prime Minister Modi, on the other hand try and arm twist him to agree to Trump's terms. However, this ego massage has not been undertaken by India. You remember when Howard Lutnick had given his interview, a public interview, a few weeks ago, he had said that the trade deal collapsed because Prime Minister Modi was to make a telephone call to President Trump, and PM Modi didn't make the call, so the deal didn't go through. Now, it is President Trump who has made the call. Of course, our Prime Minister always welcomes warmth, and he wants a good relationship with the United States. All along, he has worked to build this relationship, and I'm sure he was very unhappy to see it breaking down. So if at all, I think the reaction from India should be positive. Of course, the details have to be worked out.
Right.
President Trump, when he says India will be buying 500 billion worth of energy products, etc., then I think the details need to be seen. As Mr. Sushant Sareen pointed out, this would be not just in 1 year, but over a period of time. But let us recall that both India and the United States have ultimately committed to enhancing bilateral trade to $500 billion. So we have to work towards this target. And the tariffs which President Trump had imposed were in fact impeding progress in trade. And if President Trump is taking the initiative to lower them, I welcome it.
Right, and as Sergio Gore was speaking with Zaka Jacob, he's saying that the big headline is the reduction of tariffs from 25 to 18%. Also joined by Rahul Shivshankar on the broadcast. So Rahul, India's diplomatic perseverance through the roller coaster of MAGA rhetoric, is that the result that we're seeing today?
Well, look, we're still awaiting a statement from the Indian government or any spokesperson for the MEA. So we're still awaiting that. Trump has, of course, come out and has issued a post on Trump's social outlining several things, including suggesting that India has agreed to a large number of concessions. Now, whether these are true or not, we don't quite know. Whether we have committed to ending our trade arrangement, specifically in the context of purchasing oil from Russia, we can't confirm independently. This is what Trump has said. Remember, Trump has already preempted India when it came to the Operation Sindoor. If you remember, right after the fourth day, he came out and said that he had brokered a peace between India and Pakistan. All of that, of course, led to a massive controversy. You're already getting reactions here in the Indian political establishment or from the Indian opposition establishment to suggest that, once again, the government has kept India in the dark because they have come out and preempted, because the Americans have preempted the Indian government. So all of that is going on in the background. But the fact is that the Indian government yet to sort of confirm this We're awaiting, of course, word from the Indian government. Trump has come out and suggested that the deal has been concluded, and it's been concluded 18%. What you're seeing in the corner of your screens, Zaka, it's very interesting, are those pictures from Davos, where Chandra Srikant, our colleague from Money Control, had doorstepped Donald Trump, and he had confirmed that a deal was imminent. Zaka.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it had been there for a while, Rahul. You're right. I mean, President Trump telling this to Chandra on the sidelines of Davos, where I think India was the last major country that the US had not finished a trading arrangement with, and I think it was hurting industry on both sides. Of course, in our case, textiles, leather, some of the small scale industries were being affected disproportionately because they're labor intensive. So I think there was a realization on both sides that, look, we need to be able to get this deal going. The only question was, that path to removing the 25% Russian oil tariffs, which I think Scott Bessent alluded to last week, right after Davos, where he said we are seeing India purchase less Russian oil, at least the month of December. Certainly, India seemed to have purchased much less Russian oil. And it's important to remember it happened after the two biggest Russian companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, got sanctioned. After that, it became almost unviable for Indian companies to purchase Russian oil. And then, of course, in early January, you had the sort of capture of Maduro and the events that happened in Venezuela. And America suddenly has access to a large pool of Venezuelan oil, which, of course, America has also said that it will now sell to the rest of the world, including to India. So President Trump has made this as part of his Truth Social post that Prime Minister has assured him that India will stop buying Russian oil and it'll buy a lot more American energy, technology, etc. But what those commitments are, we will have to wait and see. Like I said, we haven't got a statement either from the Ministry of External Affairs or from the Ministry of Commerce, which we are awaiting. And I guess because Parliament is in session, they will have to apprise Parliament tomorrow as well as to what the details of this are.
Yeah, and the Indian government has been extremely tight-lipped. I was, in fact, interviewing Mr. Piyush Goyal just 2 days back, Sushant Sareen, and when I asked him about the Indo-US deal, he said, look, conversations are going on. I don't really want to talk about it. He didn't seem to intimate that there was anything imminent, at least of this massive nature or magnitude. And remember, we've just had, and we were speaking earlier in the evening, in fact, Sushant Sareen, you said, I don't want to hazard anything by the way of a guess because there's no point trying to in any way foreground Trump. But it does so happen that EM Jayashankar has just landed in Washington, D.C.
Earlier in the evening, I also told you it could very well be the trade deal, and it just so happens that it is the trade deal. And everybody else was speculating that maybe it's something to do with the Russian tariffs. But aside of that, look, I think it's good the way the Indian administration has played it by the ear. We already knew that everything had been negotiated. It was just a matter of Trump giving his nod to the trade deal. The fact that he has done it is good. I think the details, look, there will always be something on which a lot of people will complain. Some people will complain, some people will say it's a sellout, other people will say it's a great deal. That's Indian politics, right? So there will be always some kind of carping sound. For example, we've also heard carping sounds on the European deal. So whenever there is a trade deal, there will be these noises will come. But I think what is important is that we move forward from where we were, and we were not in a very good place, and we are moving from that to a better place. One. Secondly, I think it is important to understand that unlike many of the other trade deals that have been negotiated between the United States and its trading partners, the Indian trade deal has a bit of a difference in the sense that it was a lot more comprehensive than what the other countries were negotiating. They were negotiating a very, very